Greetings everyone. The purpose of this video is to show you a few examples on adding polynomials and subtracting polynomials. And what I'm going to do is go through a couple different examples with you here. So if you look at example 4, what I want you to realize first of all is I like to rewrite the terms so that they're grouped together and that the like terms, the ones with the same powers, are written next to each other. I also want to add in coefficients on any terms that are missing a coefficient. So here I'm going to put a 1, and I'm also going to put a 1 on this term. Okay, so we know that 1x squared and 2x squared are like terms because they have the same variables and they have the same exponents. So if I look at those two terms and I add them together, the powers will be the same. I apologize if you hear a background noise of my dog. She likes to hang out here when I do videos, so bear with me. I'm going to add the 1 and the 2, and now I have 3x squared. And then looking at the x terms, the ones that I'm underlining, notice those are both x terms, and so when I combine my like terms, we are just basically ignoring the parentheses as long as we're adding, because it doesn't adding a grouped amount is the same thing as adding an ungrouped quantity. All right, so 3 take away 1 would be positive 2. So adding is very simple. You're just looking at your coefficients and adding or subtracting like the signs say. All right, let's try another one down here on number 6. I skipped number 5 because you'll be trying that one here later. Okay, so since it's addition, I can ignore the parentheses. I'm just going to group off the ones that have like terms. And so 4 plus 7 would be 11y squared. And then looking at the next one, the next term, I notice that it has a y. And there's no coefficient, so I'm going to put a 1. As I scan through the rest of the terms, there are nothing else that has just a y. So I know I can list that one kind of independently there. And then lastly, we have the negative 5 and the negative 4, which again, if we add those, that gives us a negative 9. And that's it. You don't have to solve because there's no equal sign. This is a simple exercise just working on combining like terms. All right, now, if you look at subtracting, it's a similar idea. The only difference is when we subtract something, you know, kind of what I showed you in class is maybe think of it like if you're going to subtract 5 plus 9 from some starting amount. Let's say you started with, say, $15. All right, well, 5 plus 9 is the same as 14. So if I take 15 minus 14, I get 1. Well, subtracting the sum of those amounts is exactly the same thing as thinking about taking a negative 1 outside that parenthesis and distributing it through. So that would be like 15, a negative 1 times 5 would be a negative 5. Negative 1 times 9 would be a negative 9. And, you know, if I take $15 and subtract $5, I'm at $10. And then I subtract $9 more, we end up back at 1. So just make sure when you get minus between your two quantities that you think of that as basically, I just think of it as distributing a negative 1. Otherwise, just realize that everything in this second parenthesis here is going to change signs. So that means I'm just going to copy my first one down. A squared plus a minus 2, and then my positive a squared becomes a negative 1a squared. My negative 4a, if I distribute it negative 1, would become positive 4a. See, it's just changing signs. And then my plus 5 will become a minus 5. All right, and now it's just the matching game. So I'm going to kind of highlight the ones that are like terms, and I see an a squared here and another a squared. I see an a and another a term, and then the constants here are like terms as well. All right, so looking at my a squared term, 1a squared minus 1a squared, well, that cancels out. That becomes 0a squared. So 0a squared, there's really no point in writing that down because there are none of them. So that's gone. All right, now if I look at my a's, a plus 4a would be 5a. And then negative 2 minus 5 would be a negative 7. And that is all we need to do. It's as simple as combining like terms, but just make sure you distribute the negative when you're subtracting these polynomials. So we're going to use essentially we're using the distributive property to make that, make this type of question so that we don't have parentheses anymore. All right, good luck. Try the ones that are listed on your handout, and then you can bring those up and show me that you understand the content. Thanks for trying.